What would Aliko Dangote do if he started over today with just 1,000? Not a billion, not a million, not even 100,000. $1,000. I want you to sit with that question for a moment, because the answer is not what most people expect. It is not about finding the right investment. It is not about the right connections or the right country or the right timing. It is about something far more fundamental, something that most people with $1,000 will never do. Because nobody ever taught them how to think the way Dangote thinks. And that is exactly what I am going to show you today. First, understand what $1,000 really is. Most people look at $1,000 and see a limitation. Dangote would look at $1,000 and see a test of discipline, a test of vision, a test of whether you have the mental architecture to build something real, or whether you are just another person waiting for a bigger number. Before you start taking your future seriously, here is the truth that most financial content will never tell you. Dangote did not build a $20 billion empire because he had access to capital that you do not have. He built it because he had access to a way of thinking that most people never develop, regardless of how much money they have. He started with $3,000 borrowed from his uncle. That is 3 times $1,000. And from that starting point, he built the largest industrial empire in African history. So the real question is not what would Dangote do with $1,000. The real question is, how would Dangote think with $1,000? Because the thinking always comes before the doing. Always. Step 1, he would not spend a single dollar until he understood the problem he was solving. This is the first thing Dangote would do, and it costs nothing. Before touching a single dollar of that $1,000, he would spend days, maybe weeks, observing, walking through markets, talking to traders, watching what people buy, what they struggle to find, what they pay too much for, what they cannot access at all. He would ask one question obsessively. What problem exists right here, right now, that real people are already paying to solve? And that nobody is solving well. Not what business is trending on social media. Not what made someone else rich in another country. Not what looks exciting or glamorous or modern. What real problem? For real people. Right here, when Dangote started, the answer was obvious to anyone willing to look. Africa was importing everything. Sugar, cement, flour, or salt. The continent was paying billions of dollars every year to bring in basic goods that could be produced locally. That was the problem. Massive, real, and completely unsolved at scale. With $1,000 today, Dangote would do the same thing. He would walk your city, your market, your neighborhood, and he would find the equivalent of that problem. The thing that exists in abundance somewhere and is scarce somewhere else. The service that everyone needs and nobody provides consistently. The product that people buy from far away because nobody makes it nearby. He would find the gap and he would plant himself in it. Step 2. He would start as a trader, not a producer. This is something most people misunderstand about Dangote's philosophy. He always talks about production, about building factories, about manufacturing locally, and people hear that and think, I need to build something. I need to create something. I need to manufacture. With $1,000, no. With $1,000, Dangote would trade first. Buy low, sell higher. Move goods from where they are cheap to where they are needed. Generate cash flow. Learn the market from the inside. Understand the customers, the suppliers, the margins, the risks. Trading is not the final destination. It is the school. Dangote himself spent nearly 20 years as a trader before he became an industrialist. 20 years of buying and selling sugar, rice, cement, textiles before he built his first factory. Those 20 years did not just generate money. They generated knowledge. They generated relationships. They generated the deep understanding of African markets that no business school could ever teach. With $1,000 today, he would do the same. Find the gap. Source the product. Move it to where it is needed. Collect the margin. Reinvest immediately. Not buy a phone. Not rent a nice office. Not print business cards. Reinvest every single time. Step 3. He would protect 80% of every profit like it was his life. This is where most people fail. This is where 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs destroy everything they have built before it. has a chance to become something real. The moment the first profit arrives, and I mean the very first dollar of profit, the temptation is overwhelming. You want to feel the result of your work. You want to eat well. You want to show something for your effort. You want people around you to see that it is working. Dangote would feel none of that. Or more precisely, he would feel it and ignore it completely. For the first 25 years of his career, Dangote reinvested 80% of every profit back into his business. Every time. Without exception, he lived on 20%. He drove modest vehicles. He ate simply. He dressed without ostentation. While other traders were buying cars, he was buying more inventory. While other businessmen were building big houses, he was building bigger warehouses. While other entrepreneurs were impressing their communities, he was quietly doubling his capacity. With $1,000, the math is simple. You make $200 profit in the first month. You keep $40 for yourself. You put $160 back into the business immediately. Next month, your capital is $160. The month after it is larger, and larger, and larger. This is not exciting. It does not make a good social media post. Nobody will congratulate you for living on $40 a month while your business grows. But in 5 years, in 10 years, the gap between the person who reinvests 80% and the person who spends everything they make becomes so enormous that it looks like a different lifetime. If you are still here, subscribe right now. Because what comes next is the part that most people skip, and it is the part that determines whether everything you build lasts or disappears the moment life gets difficult. Step 4. He would invest in one relationship before he invested in anything else. Here is something Dangote has said repeatedly that almost nobody takes seriously enough. No empire is built alone. With $1,000, Dangote would identify, immediately, before almost anything else, one person who has already done what he wants to do. One mentor. One person who has walked the path, made the mistakes, learned the lessons, and survived long enough to have real wisdom to share. And he would find a way to be useful to that person. Not to ask for money. Not to ask for connections. To be useful. To bring value first. To show up consistently. To demonstrate through action, not words, that he was serious, disciplined, and worthy of guidance. Because here is what a great mentor gives you that $1,000 can never buy. They give you 20 years of compressed knowledge in 20 conversations. They show you the mistakes before you make them. They open doors that would take you a decade to find on your own. They believe in your vision on the days when you have stopped believing in it yourself. Dangote had mentors. Every person who has built something real has had mentors. The myth of the self-made man is exactly that, a myth. Every empire has a lineage of guidance behind it, even when the world only sees the person at the top. Find your mentor. Be useful to them first. Listen more than you speak, and protect that relationship, like it is worth more than your dollar. 1,000, because it is worth everything. Step 5. He would think about year 10 before he thought about month 1. This is the final piece, and it is the one that separates everyone else from Dangote. Most people with $1,000 are thinking about this month. How do I pay my rent? How do I eat? How do I survive until the end of the month? Dangote would think about year 10, not instead of thinking about this month. In addition to it, simultaneously, always. He would ask, if I execute this plan perfectly for 10 years, what does it become? Is this a business that can scale? Is this a problem big enough to generate real wealth at real scale? Is there a version of this that employs 100 people, 1,000 people, that serves an entire country? If the answer is no, if the ceiling of the idea is too low, he would find a different idea. Because small thinking produces small results no matter how much discipline you bring to it. But if the answer is yes, if there is a version of this that becomes something truly significant, then he would commit completely. Not for 1 year, not until it gets hard. For as long as it takes. The refinery took 10 years longer than planned. 10 years of billions invested with no return. 10 years of doubt, criticism, and pressure to abandon everything. He did not abandon it. Because he was not thinking about year 1. He was thinking about year 50. This is what $1,000 in Dangote's hands would become. It would become a trading operation in month 1. A growing inventory in month 6. A small distribution network in year 2. A local production unit in year 5. A regional business in year 10. Not because of luck. Not because of connections. Not because of privilege. Because of 5 things that cost nothing and are available to every single person reading this right now. The discipline to observe before acting. The patience to trade before producing. The iron will to reinvest before spending. The humility to learn from someone who has gone before. And the vision to think in decades when everyone around you is thinking in days. $1,000 is not a limitation. 1,000 is a test. The question is not whether you have $1,000. The question is whether you have what Dangote had when he had $3,000. Because the money was never the point. The mindset was always the point. If this video showed you something you had never seen before, subscribe. Because next week, we go deeper into the one decision Dangote made early that most entrepreneurs are too afraid to make. See you there.